Hello, friends. I'm Sarah from Awakened Body, and this is our warm up lecture for our second class in our series on the dark side. Today, we're going to be getting into the dynamics of the void. We're going to be asking what is the relationship between the void, between darkness, when we're talking about the dark side, and between potential, the pregnant potential in every moment, and in the fact that here we live, here on the earth plane, in the physical world, in a 3D reality that has as its built-in nature the ability for newness, for growth, for change. So what does all that have to do with the void? Why is the void a necessary feature of a 3D world? And in that this is a class on the dark side and on wrestling with evil, we're going to turn our attention to the question of why is there risk or danger in the void? We're going to allow the words of the Hebrew Bible to take us directly into these topics. And we're going to meet there the Hebrew Bible's notion of chaos. So one way of thinking about the entire history of ideas, and certainly the essential, what theologian John Levinson, a Harvard theologian, said was the essential project of the monotheistic traditions and of the Hebrew Bible, is the telling of the story of the cosmic battle, not between good and evil, but between order and chaos. And so what we're going to see is in the opening lines of the Hebrew Bible, we're going to see that according to the Hebrew Bible, before anything, there was a particular way of languaging chaos. There was what we're going to see, tohu and bohu. That's the biblical term for chaos. And in ways that really anticipate very modern debates about is there such a thing as creation ex nihilo? What was what was present at the time of the Big Bang? These very contemporary scientific questions. We're going to find that the Hebrew Bible makes this claim that before there was anything, there was the void. And so that's what we're going to explore together today. We said last week that our class is going to really hone in on three sefirot on the Kabbalistic tree, keeping in mind that we're always working with the tree in positive space, and in negative space, we'll come back around to that. But if we just let the tree be a symbol, be a metaphor for us, the three sefirot that we're focusing on are the location of the void. You see it here as the invisible sefira of Da'at, the one that's faded out there in the middle. And then in future weeks, we're going to work with Gvura, that we'll call Din, and also with Malchut, the 3D world, the earth plane itself. Today, we dive in to the dynamics of the void on the Kabbalistic tree, which show up for us in Da'at. So we're going to do this in two stages. First, just letting the Hebrew Bible frame the conversation for us. Now, of course, every translation is an interpretation. And so I've translated this verse for us in the way that's going to best prepare us to take a look at the source from the Zohar that I have to share with you in just a few minutes here. So all of this is, we're going to read it within the context of prehistory. This is how the premier Jewish commentator on ancient texts, Rashi, reads it. You might be familiar with the translation, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, period, as though that is like a event. But that's not how we're going to translate this here. We're going to read all of this as context, as like staging notes, as if we were reading a script. In the beginning of God's creating heaven and earth, there was tohu and bohu. That's the Hebrew term for chaos. Darkness over the surface of deep. The Spirit of God hovering over the waters. When God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Okay, this "let there be light," all of that is the terrain of all of our other exploration at Awakened Body. In the series on the dark side, we are focusing prior to that first moment of creation when the cosmic artist chooses to create our 3D world, this playground for souls, for learning and growing. So in that terrain of prehistory, let's look at this sentence a little bit more closely. Prehistory begins with something. That something, this text calls tohu and bohu. And in a moment, I'm going to show you the Zohar's interpretation of this paired term, tohu and bohu. The first takeaway that we have here is that chaos has substance. Looking just from this perspective, we have to say, no, this is not the story of creation ex nihilo. In the same way that contemporary 21st century physics will tell us that what's most likely is that our story of this universe, and that was birthed into existence through this Big Bang, most likely was preceded by many other series of vast expansion and then contraction and then expansion yet again. So in the opening of the Hebrew Bible too, we have a prehistory, which is called tohu and bohu. We also want to notice that so much of our study and exploration of Kabbalah, we end up paying attention to polarities, to dualities, to the binary nature of reality. And so here too, even chaos, even that which precedes any story of creation, any ordering whatsoever, even this has a binary nature. All of this is, if we weren't sure about how to imagine that it looked, the text is going to tell us this is darkness over the surface of the deep. So there is something in the essential nature of tohu and bohu, and darkness and the void. So this is the pregnant possibility into which all of existence is born. We want to notice here how necessary this is. If I'm an artist, first I need to stretch my canvas before I can begin to paint. So here, tohu and bohu are somehow the stretching of the canvas, the birthing of the canvas, although it must be in some way that is not yet in positive space. The Spirit of God hovering over the surface of the waters. So here we have another binary, that we have Ruach Elohim, we have Source, we have the Creator present, but is the Creator one with tohu and bohu? Is the Creator perhaps in opposition to tohu and bohu? We agreed last week that we were not going to engage in dualistic interpretations here, that we were going to be fiercely loyal to the Kabbalah's central teaching that all is one. And so we have the deep, and somehow as a part of that, in a non-binary way, we have Ruach Elohim, the Spirit of God, hovering over the surface of the waters. So this is the setting of our stage. So when we come into live session, we'll talk about why this matters. And I asked you over the course of the past week to begin to recognize, where is it that I see pregnant potential in the instant before I spring into action? And how do I respond to that sense of possibility? Is it more common that I respond with a sense of terror of one kind or another, or a sense of gratitude? For now, what I want us to take from this opening sentence of the Hebrew Bible, I want us to begin to accustom ourselves to seeing the canvas, seeing the void as a key ingredient in the story. There is the story that's unfolding in the space of 3D reality, in the moment to moment of my life. But then there is, prior to that, tohu and bohu. So now we're going to move forward and we're going to explore a text from the Zohar that's going to take us inside of the dynamics of tohu and bohu. Why are there two? What is the difference between them? What are their features, their characteristics? And remember that the Zohar is trying to give language to the ineffable, that which is unspeakable. We are prior to the creation of any categories. And so certainly any labels are going to be only in the language of analogy and metaphor. So this is a text from the first volume of the Zohar. Tohu is a place where there is neither color nor form, and it is not comprised in the mystery of form. It has a form, but when one looks at it, it has no form at all. Everything has a garment with which it can be clothed, except for this. It appears to have a garment, but it has none, and it never had. Bohu has both shape and form. Stones sunk in the depths of tohu's depths. So stones sunk in the depths of tohu, and they emerge from the depths in which they are sunk, and from there they bring benefit to the world. In the shape of the garment, they bring benefit from the upper regions to the lower, whence they ascend upward. They are therefore hollow and moist. And then this last piece we're going to read in a moment. Okay, so what is the Zohar trying to teach us here? First, I need to give you a slight word of context. The word tohu in Hebrew is very, very hard to analyze etymologically. The closest we can get to the etymology of the word tohu is the term for wondering is taha. I wonder means taha. And so from that etymology, the Zohar is seeing tohu as the absence in the prayer of tohu and bohu. By contrast, the word bohu literally means there is something in it. And so already in the etymology of this term, this ancient term for the primordial soup from which all of creation is formed, or for chaos, more simply stated, in this double languaging of chaos, one of the words means absence, and one of the words means presence. So we need that to understand the starting point of the Zohar here. Okay, so let's begin with what it's saying about tohu. Tohu is a place where there is neither color nor form, and it is not comprised in the mystery of form. It has a form, but when one looks at it, it has no form at all. And then the Zohar is going to tell us something general here, and this is where we're going to begin our discussion in live session. Everything has a garment with which it can be clothed, except for this. So we're going to come back again and again in our course to this idea of outer coverings. That outer coverings, sometimes they are called garments, sometimes later in the course we're going to call them klipot, husks, shells. These outer garments, both these are like our masks. On one hand, the garment is what makes the invisible visible. On the other hand, it is not of the essence of the thing. It is in a certain way a lie that covers a truth. So this garment, it has profound use for us, but it takes us away from essence. That is what we need to understand when we begin to acclimate ourselves to this deep teaching from the Zohar. That even the void itself, in a certain way, has a binary nature. Part of it is the nature of presence, and part of it is the nature of absence. Absence precedes presence. Tohu precedes bohu. And so tohu is something, but it is the only thing in all of existence that has no form. The only thing that is not clothed in a garment. It appears to have a garment, but it has none and never had it. So tohu here is ultimate privation. The best analogy, and we'll talk about this in live session, in our system of Arabic numbering, this is the number 0. The number 0 is what makes possible a base 10 system of math, right? I get to 9, and then either I want to keep going ad infinitum, or I want to create a unit. In a base 10 system, the number 0 is what makes the base 10 possible. So the number 0 itself has no value, and yet its existence is what makes the entire numerical system possible. That is tohu. Let's read this one more time and try to take it in, and then you'll sit with it between when you're watching this recording and when we gather in live session, and we will take it apart. We'll make sense of it together. Tohu is a place where there is neither color nor form, and it is not comprised in the mystery of form. It has a form, you might say it is something, but when one looks at it, it has no form at all. Everything has a garment with which it can be clothed, except for this. It appears to have a garment, but it has none, and it never had. So we're going to move on now to bohu, and remember that literally bohu means there is something in it. And what is the something? The Zohar is working with a vast pre-tradition that I didn't bring you here, that what does bohu have in it? It has rocks that gush water. Rocks that gush water. This image of a rock that gives forth water, we meet it elsewhere in the Hebrew Bible. And so what is in bohu? It is these sunken stones that create moisture. Bohu, by contrast with tohu, has both shape and form. Stones sunk in the depths of tohu, they emerge from the depths in which they are sunk, and from there they bring benefit to the world. In the shape of the garment, they bring benefit from the upper regions to the lower, whence they ascend upward. They are therefore hollow and moist. So the sense that we're getting here from the Zohar is that if chaos itself, if the void, even the void, has something of a binary nature, that is half presence and half absence, in the terrain of absence, we have what we just discussed for tohu. In the terrain of presence, this is where we are getting this imagery of the primordial soup. Remember, what's going to come in the next instant is the Big Bang itself, when all of creation is going to birth into the realm of yesh, of existence. And so bohu is the primordial soup that is going to birth into existence. For our purposes, we want to let our intuitive sense, the Binah in us, be our teacher. We want to feel into the dialectical tension between this presence and absence, even at the level of chaos. And then the text is going to go on. I've created a slight ellipses here. The text is going to go on, and it's going to tell us something about this darkness. Why is tohu and bohu? Why are they of the dark side? Why are they of the void? Darkness is a black fire, strong in color. A red fire, strong in appearance. A green fire, strong in shape. A white fire, a color that comprises all. Darkness is the strong fire in all fire, and this is that which gives strength to tohu. Okay, so you might take a minute and just read that text again to yourself on the screen. So we're learning something here about the nature of the void. And I'll remind you that in our first class, we talked about the evolution from power to judgment to constriction, to anger, to rage, to evil. So we're hearing shades of that. We know that the dark side itself has its full own Kabbalistic tree, just like the side of existence has a Kabbalistic tree. And so we're learning that tohu has these aspects. There is black, red, green, white. The white includes all. This is going to be the Vav of Zer Anpin, if you remember from Kabbalah of the body. But the most important takeaway for us is this sentence: darkness is the strong fire in all fire. And it is this that which gives the strength to tohu. So you're looking on the left side of the screen at an image of an atomic bomb. And this is one of these mysteries that our brain cannot logically wrap its head around, but we in the 21st century know to be true, that it is possible to split an atom, and in splitting of an atom to create a explosion that can destroy miles and miles of space. Embedded inside of the tiniest particles of creation are profound resources of energy. We might even say the energy of creation. So this text is trying to teach us something about the nature of that energy. How is it possible that that energy is embedded inside of something as commonplace as an atom? And the answer here is within the dynamics of the void. Darkness is the strong fire in all fire, and it is this which gives strength to tohu. So we're learning here something about the dynamics of the pregnant potential of the void. That everything that is possible thanks to the void, but that there is also profound potential for things to go awry, for great destruction. That same potential that creates the possibility of existence creates profound, many, maybe even orders of magnitude more likely potential for destruction. So in live session, we will share together where this touches us, and we'll explore, the question, what do we do with this? How does it matter? And remember, we are learning, we're taking this glimpse at the dynamics of the void of tohu and bohu, because eventually we're going to need to fall in love with the darkness. The takeaway at this point is that the void is the precursor, the prerequisite for existence. And so in a certain way, we need to feel grateful to it. If we love our life, if we love the goodness in our life, we need to find a way to love this pregnant potential, to love the void, even if it is also very volatile and perhaps very dangerous. To be continued in live session.